Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Oh, now, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Wednesday. Glad to have you. Dylan Sinn also joining me from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, as always.
It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. How has your week been?
It's good. I'm obviously already having some fun with seeing the new contract details from Kurt Signetti yesterday and reporting on all of that, and then getting ready for this week of college football. It should be a good one.
Yeah, another incredible slate of games coming up, and just more that is laying there at the table or in front of Indiana, and the possibilities are, while a lot of people can say that, yeah, I knew this, man, at the end of the day, I thought this team was good. I knew they were going to be a good team. I knew they were going to be a better team than they were last year. But even I don't know if I saw this level. They could be the best team in the country. I don't know that. I don't know that Ohio State is or is not. We don't, because they haven't really played anybody yet. So it's going to be interesting, but they legitimately could be the number one team in the country, and that's a little hard to wrap your mind around. Again, something that has happened at this warp speed. I mean, this is Lazarus, man. This was a dead body. Indiana football was a dead body, and now it's running track meets.
Yeah, it is funny. Like, Ohio State is obviously it's incredible what Indiana is doing, and it's going to be fun to see them play UCLA on Saturday, because UCLA is very, very hot as well. UCLA might end up being the third best team that IU has played so far this season. But it's funny for Ohio State. Ohio State is going to end up in basically the same position that IU was last year. Like, they play nobody during the regular season. They played Illinois and they beat them. And they're going to play Michigan at the end of the year. Michigan's probably going to be 9-2 when that game happens. But
that's not your old-fashioned 9-2. This is a really watered down 9-2.
Yeah. Like Michigan's best win is going to be against Washington, right? And so Ohio State is basically going to be in the same spot Indiana was last year, where it's like, well, how good are they really? The difference is that, like, we know they're good because they're Ohio State, right? Like, that's, no one's going to question how good they are because they're Ohio State. But they don't play Oregon during the regular season. They don't play Indiana during the regular season. Like, they play Penn State. Okay, great. We don't think Penn State's very good. So it is one of those things. They played Texas. We don't think I don't think Texas is very good. I think Texas is going to go 7-5. So it is one of those things where they're very much in that same kind of realm. And if they lose to Michigan, frankly I don't think they will. I think they're a much, much better team than Michigan is. Now, they were last year too, and they lost, but the chances of that happening 2 years in a row are very small. But if they lose to Michigan and they're 11-1, I wonder if you'll hear any of the stuff you heard from last year about, like, well, you know, they didn't really beat anybody, and should these SEC teams be in over them? And the answer is probably not, because everyone knows that Ohio State's an established brand, and they're obviously extremely talented and they would get in. But it is interesting to kind of consider that, because I think Ohio State's very good. I would make Ohio State the favorite against basically I think any team in the country on a neutral field. But we just assume that because they are Ohio State. There's really no evidence to back that up. I mean, they've won every game handily, but they haven't really dominated teams. They haven't really blown teams out because they're just keeping so much in reserve on offense and playing so vanilla offensively. So I'm interested to see what happens when they have to kind of flip a switch against the best teams in the country and say, hey, like, we are Ohio State, we can score points, because they really haven't had to do that this year. Their defense has just shut everybody down, and their offense has been in cruise control the entire season.
Yeah, it has been just amazing to watch it all unfold. And on top of that, all these coaches firings, and it's like a domino effect. When that first one happened, with UCLA, although ironically, that one was deserved. That one I get. That one needed to happen. Look what happened afterwards immediately. My gosh, they've won 3 straight games, which is amazing.
They look good doing it too.
Yeah,
they look good doing like those aren't flukes. They played well.
It just shows you. I mean, but this is something that I knew, and I'm sure many others knew that. I mean, you could, not trying to be disparaging to Deshaun Foster, but you just listen to him when he talked in interviews, and you're like, what the hell? That guy doesn't know what he's doing, does he? Yeah. You could just tell a difference between. There was a gigantic schism between what you thought should be being said and what was being said. You could just tell that it was beyond him, and it's not his fault. I mean, what are you going to do? Turn the job down? But man, yeah, they are quickly one of the most improved teams in the league. Amazing, but now I think that comes to an end. But this could be the best challenge to date, and that includes beating the snot out of Oregon, because this team is coming in, and I'm speaking of UCLA, they're coming in with this newfound pride, man, this newfound confidence that, hey, we can do this, and now they get a chance to do that against a team that is ranked number 2 in the country. Man, they went to LSU last year and didn't flinch. So this could be a challenging game for Indiana, at least for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we saw when UCLA went and played Penn State, obviously Penn State is not as good as we thought they were, but at the time they were still number 7 in the country, and UCLA did not flinch in that game. They went in there and just let it all hang out, and they dominated that first half and won the game. And so I do think that Indiana is going to have to be prepared for this team's best shot. This team is going to be fired up and ready to go. And I think that's something that Chris Signetti said on Monday that was kind of interesting, was that he didn't think his team was as ready to play as it should be against Michigan State right out of the gate, right? And so they obviously figured it out as the game went along. But if Indiana, it would seem like kind of a shot across the bow for Indiana, because if they're not ready to play against UCLA, they might be down 10 or 14 points early, because UCLA is going to they are going to put all their chips in the middle to try to get an early lead, and then see if they can kind of make Indiana a little bit tight, which has not really happened to IU this year. So, I mean, IU's been down, obviously, but it hasn't been down 2 scores right away and got punched in the mouth like that. So we'll have to see whether what UCLA has up its sleeve, because it's going to pull out every single stop. I would expect like 3 or 4 or 5 trick plays in this game that they run, and see if Indiana is more ready to go this week. And I think it should be. I think part of the reason they weren't ready to go against Michigan State was, they had just beaten Oregon. You're coming home. You're 25-point favorite. It's really, really hard to be mentally ready for that kind of game, especially when you feel like you're way more talented, which they clearly were. And so now, okay, you're playing UCLA. You're on paper more talented than them, but They've won 3 in a row. They're playing great. What do you have mentally for this game? What is what do you have to say? All right, we are the better team here. Let's go out and show it right away. I think that's what Chris Signetti wants to see. He didn't see it last week, and they're hoping to do better this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest job Signetti has right now is keeping his team focused on being who they were, who they have been. And that is a team that is the hunter. You know, they've been used to climbing that mountain and putting in that effort in that it takes to do that, because it takes an effort. But now you have to maintain that. You're at the top of the mountain. There's no more mountain to climb right now, but you can't let up. Not only do you have to maintain what you were doing, you have to continue to grow or you start regressing. And that's where it becomes difficult when you get there. It's just not that easy to stay there. But I think Signetti has talked about, you know, that being an issue and something that he knew and you see and you worked on. And again, it just shows you how good of a coach he is. But you sense those things, and that's what you have to do. You have to have the pulse of your team. You have to, because I know this sounds silly, but I remember going back to high school. We had one of those games, and that very thing happened where you're, oh man, gonna beat these guys, no thought and all of that. It is a big mental game, and that's why we see upsets, man. That's why they play the games, and it truly is. You just have to now. You've got to maintain that mental sharpness, and that Indiana has to go from being this team that has been hungry and chasing to one that is being chased now. And so that's a different mentality, but yet you still have to maintain that killer's attitude. And that becomes the chore for Indiana, Dylan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're going to be favored by a wide margin in the rest of their games here, right? Like, they have 5 games left. None of them are against teams that on paper should be able to hold a candle at IU, right? Penn State has a ton of talent, but they've lost 4 games in a row, and they've lost to teams that are not nearly as good as IU. And so, all right, how do you mentally handle that? Like you just said, how do you go about saying, all right, we are the better team in this game. We know it, but are we going to get up and show it, right? And I think that is going to be the challenge for the rest of the season for IU, is that this team should, on paper, go 12-0. And they have the talent to do it. They are going to be the better team in all 5 games. They're going to be favored in all 5 games. Can you go out there and execute what you need to execute and do what you need to do to make that happen? And because the thing is, it's always in the back of your mind. Like, if they go 11-1, they're going to be in the playoff anyway, right?
Yep.
But do you have the pride that says, hey, I want to go 12-0. I want to go play for a Big Ten championship, because that's what they're chasing now. Like, they have a genuine opportunity to finish out this regular season, then go play probably Ohio State for the Big Ten title in Indianapolis, in your home state, in December, and have a chance at a Big Ten championship, right? Like, even before we get to the playoff, even before any of that, you have a chance to win the Big Ten championship. That means something to this program. And they are 5 games away, 5 games against teams they should be on paper from having a chance to do that. And if you play your game in those 5, you will have the chance to do it. But you have to get up for each one of those games, one after the other. And that is going to be the test for Indiana and for Chris Signetti, because that's what he does. He gets his team ready to go. He didn't do it as well as he needed to against Michigan State last week, and he knows it. And so now, how do you respond to that? And I think we're going to see a lot about the mettle of this team over the next 5 weeks in terms of, are they ready to go in these games?
Yeah, I think it'll be easier now than it was right after that Oregon game, because that's part of what led to all of this. That I don't want to say, I don't want to call it a letdown, but taking a breath is basically what they did. They were not on their tiptoes breathing fire. which it's hard. That's hard to do, man. That's hard to maintain. That's why it's so hard to go undefeated. That's so hard to win every game. You blink one time and you can get knocked off that pedestal. So that is a huge challenge, and I think obviously Kurt Signetti knows that now, and it's been amazing to watch the difference in his demeanor and dealings with the media and all of that, because it has been, you're not getting the Signettiisms this year that you were. There's no Google me talk this year, and that's with purpose, because now his focus is on coaching a top ranked team. A year ago, his focus was on, man, please come to the games. And it has literally gone from please come to the games to good luck getting a ticket to the game. In that fast a timetable, which is mind-boggling. I mean, that's truly head spinning, and nothing comes close to it, even in college sports. What Indiana has done, and it's just been amazing. And there's a lot of people that wish they could replicate it that are big names out there. And with all these jobs, Dylan, who's going to replace all of these names? Because these are some big name programs. It hasn't even been named at Wisconsin, but there's a great possibility that job is open. Penn State's open. UCLA, that job's filled. In my opinion, because there's no way they're not going to hire the skipper. He's doing an unbelievable job.
I mean, unless they hire Neuheisel, right? Unless they hire Jerry Neuheisel.
Well, I figured it would be a package deal.
Yeah, stick with those two.
Absolutely. I mean, how do you not? It's just, yeah, but you're right. It could, there's a possibility, but either way, this is going to be a big power drain of coaches per se. There's going to have to be some names that we're not quite as familiar with that get some of these jobs, because there aren't that many names out there. It's just it's a weird time now. It's a turnover of coaching in the college football era.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what happened last year was that I think a lot of teams were kind of if you had a coach on the hot seat last year, you were more than likely going to kind of ride it out for one more year, because you weren't sure how the House settlement was going to come down. You weren't sure what the future of the sport looked like entirely yet. And so you kind of kept your powder dry a little bit, right? I think we're going to see that kind of come to a head this year, because a lot of teams kept their coaches last year. They survived one more year, and now a lot of these teams are just letting them go now. It's like, all right, we saw what we needed to see. Nothing's changed from last year. You got to go. That's what happened to Billy Napier at Florida. It's what happened to Brent Pry at Virginia Tech. It's what happened a little bit with Trent Bray at Oregon State, right? Like, that's a little bit of a different job, but a lot of these coaches probably could have been fired. Like Sam Pittman at Arkansas, right? Like, a lot of these coaches probably could have been fired last year, and people are just like, all right, one more year. We'll see what happens with House, and then we'll figure it out from there. And so we're going to have a wild coaching cycle this offseason, right? I think what you said about there's going to be some names that we don't know, that's absolutely true. I think there's also just going to be like guys who just got fired getting other jobs, right? Like James Franklin is probably going to be maybe Virginia Tech or UCLA. Yeah, he's going to take one of those open jobs, right? Like, he would be great at Virginia Tech, right? I think he'd be great at Florida, frankly, but Florida's not going to do that.
And then I didn't even mention Florida State, which is a possibility, because he's Mike Norvell is on double secret probation for the remainder of the season. Opened up the year 3-0 with a win over Alabama.
Yeah.
Think about that. At the time, you're 3-0, you've beaten Alabama. Life is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Fast forward a month, your job is on the line.
I mean, like they're 3-4. They've lost games to Stanford. They lost to Virginia Tech. It just hasn't been good for them. And they announced earlier this week that they're going to wait until the end of the season to make a decision. So he's not going to get fired during the season. But my guess is that he will get fired after the season. Mark Stoops is another one. Yeah, that's a good one. They're not good, but his buyout is huge, and they might want to save some money for basketball. It's a question of how much they care about football at this point. Because he is the best coach in their history, or pretty close to it. If you wanted to, however long Bear Bryant was there, you could say he's the better coach.
I don't know what. You probably remember better than I do, but what did they really do? Because it has to have been a while since
they
were at the
won
peak of the
10
Stoops
games. Yeah, they won 10 games, I think 2 or 3 times at Kentucky, which is a big deal, right? Like he basically
Hey,
he did a baby
anyway.
version. Yeah, he did a baby version of what that he did, obviously over a longer time span. They never competed nationally, but they won 10 games several times. They beat Florida. They ended that huge long losing streak against Florida. Like he is a fantastic coach in the history of Kentucky football. His buyout's like $35 million or something like that. So it would be a lot to get him out of there. Does Kentucky care enough about football to do that? I don't know. Would they rather just invest that money in basketball and let one of the best coaches in program history ride it out until he can ride off into the sunset? I don't know. But that's certainly one to look at. Trying to think of where else. I mean, like there are several in the SEC, like Auburn. Auburn might come open. Hugh Freeze they're 3-4 there, even though they've had some really close losses against good teams. It just is not good right now. LSU, another one. They're 5-2, but this is year 4 for Brian Kelly down there, and they have not done anything close to what they want. Like they're a 9-win team under Brian Kelly, which is not. It's generally speaking where LSU is historically. Their fans don't like hearing that, but they want championships, and he has not gotten them particularly close to an SEC championship yet. So what do you do there?
Wisconsin.
Luke Fickell. That's another one where they announced earlier this week that they are not going to move during the season. They are going to wait until after the season is over.
And you know why? And you know what? And that's a job that we know is probably going to change.
Yeah.
But they're smart enough to do what they just did. That takes, all right, we're not even talking about this until after the year. So you can kind of put it out of your mind at least, and not be a worry week after week, having an effect on things. And I think that so many of these other teams should have done that. Penn State, I mean, yeah, they didn't have a chance at a national championship, but they had a shot at the CFP still. And you blow it up.
Kinda. They were 3-3. Like even if they won out, they probably weren't going to get in.
Well,
right?
By name, because there might be some 9-3 teams they get in this year from the SEC, because there's going to be some of those. There's just a lot of balance over there, so I could see that happening. Not that Penn State deserved to get in, but hey, man. If you've got that name on the chest, it comes with a lot of benefits.
Yeah,
it's like having an American Express. It just comes with a lot of extra stuff. So, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and Penn State would have had to beat IU and Ohio State just to get to 9-3 with Franklin there. I frankly doubt that was going to happen. So I understand. Like here's the people think that like Franklin was fired because of a 3-game losing streak, and it wasn't really that, right? It was a combination of all these factors where they were just not at the level they wanted to be. Penn State wants to win national championships. They invested in the program this year, especially to a level that was national championship worthy, and they didn't have the results to show for it, right? Drew Aller was hurt. He's out for the season. That was probably another part of it where it's like, all right, let's just do this now. Let's have a clean slate. Terry Smith is a beloved alumnus. He's the interim head coach. Maybe you have some good vibes down the end of the season. You win a couple games, and you maybe keep the recruiting class together rather than firing him after the season and then everything goes sideways immediately. So I understood the decision they made. The buyout is huge, but it's spread out over several years, so it's not quite as big right up front. So we'll see what happens with Penn State. I think they probably win a game or two down the stretch of the season. I like IU going there is going to be a very tough challenge for IU. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it is going to be a crazy coaching cycle because so many of these teams held on to their coaches last year and now are deciding, hey, we probably should have just fired you last year. And so we're going to get a lot of these coaches moving on this year.
Yeah, Robert Schwartz says that there have been other podcasts referring to what Signetti has done, leading other programs to looking at duplicating. Has been at a school that has had success. The furor wouldn't be as big. I'm not sure if it. I think the gist of that was everybody else wants the same thing. Just pour water on it and it'll grow. And it's just not that easy. I mean, Kurt Signetti is deserving of the flowers he's getting. They are winning because of what he has done, how he has done it, how he continues to do it, how he maintains what is going on, and his foresight of seeing, all right, because look at him, the difference in the press conference. I need to take a break. Let's talk about that when we come back. But when we come back, talk about this difference in Kurt Signetti now and a year ago, because it's like almost a different person in those press conferences now. He is a much softer, I will say. I shouldn't say. I don't want to say soft. Nicer. How's that? Much nicer, easier to deal with. No, he was not that he was hard. So I'm getting myself in more of a hole here. Hey, we'll just take a break. Back with more Indiana Sports Speed Radio right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Speed Radio here on this Wednesday. Glad to have you. And Dylan Sinn from Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette as well. I appreciate him as always. Just looking at the Texas A&M Aggies became the first team to draw the SEC's $50,000 fine for faking an injury. Did you see that?
Yep.
At first, I'm like, thinking how cheesy, but then I'm like, you know what? That's good old fashioned football right there. That's one of the last things. So much has been taken out of the game. You can still fake an injury. So hey, well, why not? And especially if it worked, and it did, they won the game. So they're probably like, that was worth $50,000, and it was at the end of the year because. If they take an L, I'm not saying that fake injury led to the win, but but let's say it played into the win, that's worth a hell of a lot more than $50,000 when you're heading toward the CFP and all of that, just because of the payouts that are coming from just for making it to those positions.
Yeah, it is funny. The SEC said, I think in its statement, that you could see on film. And they looked at the film, they watched it, and they were like, you can see an assistant coach telling him to go down, which is pretty funny from the sideline. You can tell, you can see someone telling him to take a dive, which is really, really funny that they found that so easily. So yeah, I'm sure from Texas A&M's perspective, totally worth it. Honestly, kind of funny. They're probably laughing about it in the halls in Aggie land there. So a pretty funny result there for the SEC.
Oh, absolutely. Well, at least they took action on it. So so you have to applaud them for that. But yeah, that's kind of, you're caught. I mean, dude, you can't get away with anything. Come on, there's cameras everywhere, generally for every single thing. So that's pretty funny though. But you know what? That's part of the game. It is part of the game. It's part of the mental part of the game. It's part of the chess. It's part of playing chess. I mean, it may not be a very good player, but you know what? Sometimes it works, man. And we all know that it has happened. But unfortunately, that leads to people to believing sometimes that is the case when it's actually an injured player. So don't want that become that. But yeah, that's just kind of funny. But again, hey, that was a tight win. So win's a win, man. And they roll on and live to fight another day as Texas A&M, probably a team. Well, I don't know. Them or Alabama is going to reign supreme in the SEC. We're not sure which, but if I don't even know who I would take in that game, but I'm thinking Alabama right now because it seems like Kalen DeBoer is gaining ground. He's there now. It's like last year. It was just like this. He was going through the woods. He was having to clear. It was like having to clear the woods out. Got to get all that brush out. That's what it seemed like. They just kept going through all of this stuff. Now it's like, oh, all right, now it's cleaner. So things are a lot faster in getting through there very, very, very quickly and efficiently now. This is coming off of starting the season with a loss to a guy who we just talked about, who's now on the hot seat for his job. So that's how Alabama's year started, but it's how it's going now. They're one of those how it started, how it's going kind of a situations, because they're sitting right there in that top 4 seed area.
Yeah, I think whoever wins the SEC is certainly going to get a top 4 seed, 100%. And I think that right now the two best teams in that league are Texas A&M and Alabama. Alabama has won several big games since then. They beat Georgia, they beat Missouri. They went out there and they've played very, very well. Like if you're looking at Heisman Trophy candidates right now, Fernando Mendoza is obviously up there. I think Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame is up there, and Ty Simpson from Alabama, I think, is right up there in terms of just the players in the country. He's been fantastic, which is interesting because I didn't think he was that good against Florida State. I really don't know what happened in that game. It's the most incongruous result of the season. It doesn't make any sense with the rest of what's gone on this year. But it just seems like Alabama, once they lost that game, they kind of flipped a switch, and they've been really, really good ever since. I mean, even the next week they played Louisiana Monroe or whatever it is. Louisiana Monroe isn't any good, right? Like that's not anything impressive, but they beat them 73-0. You know what I mean? They were immediately like, all right, we're better than this. And they proved it every week since. And we'll see as they go down the stretch. They have plenty of tough games left, but they seem like they are on the kind of roll right now that they used to get on when they were under Saban, where it's like, all right, who is actually going to beat these guys? And so I'm fascinated if the SEC championship ends up being Texas A&M and Alabama. That's 2 Heisman Trophy contenders right there, and it's two teams that are really, really good, and I'd love to see that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that's going to be – there's going to be some very interesting games because often teams play each other before you get to this championship when you have this many teams. But in this season, fortunately, that's not going to be the case in both the SEC and the Big Ten. Indiana does not play Ohio State during the regular season, and those are the two likely teams that are going to meet in the Big Ten championship. And people are probably thinking, why are these guys talking about that? There's so many games left. I can't believe it. Well, I understand, and normally that would be the case, but the way the schedule lays out, there should not be an impediment to Indiana making the Big Ten championship game because they can get there even with a loss, whether that comes, to UCLA or to Penn State. It doesn't matter. They would still go to the Big Ten championship. Can you imagine that? We're talking about Indiana having a golden ticket to the Big Ten title game, even if they have with a loss to give the rest of the season. That's just mind-boggling to be able to have that cover to make that statement. It's crazy, but it's true, and I think Indiana wants to do something special though. Kurt Cignetti, he likes to do he likes to do things. That's one thing that is not changed about him. He's a much different person right now with the media and how he deals with post-game and pre-game situations. But he's talked about it. He's just explained that, hey, last year I came in and this place was, basically a corpse. It was on life support as far as supporting the program, and with good reason. They sucked. They were terrible. It was a terrible product. It had its ups and downs, but nothing sustained. And that you can't build anything like that, and it wears people out. When you get new fans, that you lose them quickly because you're not holding on to them. But this is something different and something that is truly trying to be built. And there's been a response as far as the crowds selling out Memorial Stadium, the noise, the people. I was amazed, Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette with me, who I'm not letting talk right now because I'm running my mouth. I was amazed, Dylan, at how many people stayed and came back in after the weather delay from last week's game over Michigan State. I was like, wow, it seemed like only the students left.
Yeah, I mean, it really was impressive. I mean, the fact that it was even as full as it was at the beginning of the game for a game against a team that was 2-4 or 3-3, like it just really, really impressive to come home from Oregon to that, right? To come home to a full stadium. I mean, I go back to last year, and we talked about it last segment to a certain extent, but I go back to last year about that Florida International game, the opener, where they win easily, and all of the talk after the game is, well, look at the fans. Like there were just so few of them in the stands, and they all left after halftime. And Cignetti makes his plea in the post game, basically, hey, please stay for the second half. Our guys need you out there. And the idea of that being only 18 months ago, or not even 18 months ago, 14 months ago, is crazy. It really is. The distance the program has come, just not only on the field, but in all of the things that surround it and all of the trappings of being a big-time college football program, from the athletic department and what it's done to keep Cignetti in town, to the fan base that is rallied behind this team, to the operations people who have made the game day feel like a big-time atmosphere. It's really impressive how far they've leveled up this program in just basically 14 months.
And Scott Dolson has made the statement that this is not changing. We're not switching horses in midstream in mid race here. We're sticking with it. Takes the name off the table pretty much, and just gets Indiana out of that. And more importantly, much more importantly, because I was thinking this could become an issue, but it prevents this from becoming an issue with his name being circulated around and the fear of losing your coach. That can wreck a team as fast as anything, because part of having a winning program, a winning team, is having a winning locker room. And right now, that locker room, they're solid, they're together. Their biggest chore right now is maintaining the eye of the tiger, so to speak. That scent of a hunter, not the hunted, but other than that, they have done a marvelous job. But it's truly been remarkable to see, even in this era, because nobody else is doing that, and we're not talking about improving. Like, I think Barry Odom has done a hell of a job at Purdue. They were at ground zero, and of course there's no place to go but up. But they have gone up. The record doesn't necessarily show it, but I can see a definite difference between last. It's like, UCLA. Bad moves. Those were just bad moves to have those coaches in place. But that's going to benefit somebody else. But man, there's going to be, getting back to that, there's going to be names that we're not familiar with that are going into some of these high profile jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and some of them we might be very familiar with here in Indiana. I would not be surprised if one or both of Indiana's coordinators get head coaching jobs this offseason. And that's, Indiana has paid them to such an extent that they are very well compensated when it comes to coordinators across the country. But these are competitive guys. I wouldn't be surprised if they want to go out and get head coaching jobs, right? Like, Mike Shanahan is going to be mentioned for every ACC job that comes open, right? Like a guy who's from that area, who is a very, very, very good offensive mind. He's going to be mentioned for every job under the sun. Brian
Plus,
Haynes,
his last name is Shanahan. I mean, that's just people are just gonna say, "Oh, Shanahan. Oh man, you got to get that Shanahan guy."
Exactly. And so, like, would you be surprised if he popped up as like a leading candidate for Virginia Tech? Because I wouldn't. I think that'd be a great hire for Virginia Tech. I'm not saying Mike Shanahan wants to leave. I'm not saying Brian Haynes wants to leave. I don't know what's in their mind. Maybe they want to ride this thing out all the way with Curt Cignetti. But these guys are competitive. A lot of guys who are coordinators generally want to move up. That's generally what they want to do, is become head coaches. And
I agree with that, but I wonder if these guys have struggled too. They've struggled to get to this point, right, with Cignetti. And I'm wondering if the thought may be, hey man, I'm going to enjoy this ride for a few years, because we've seen it everywhere. There's going to be a drop off at some point. One would think, maybe not. I can't predict the future, but I can't imagine Indiana is going to, do this year in and year out. But maybe it does happen. That would be crazy. Regardless of that, common sense would say that, it's going to be a really good run for a couple of years and then maybe drop off a little bit. But that doesn't mean bad. But regardless of that, my point is, I think that maybe these guys are, hey, I want to enjoy a run at the top of all of college football for a few years, because whatever job either of them takes is going to be a rebuild. Obviously, you're coming into a job for a reason, and so you have a big job ahead of you. Not that they can't do it, but it's not going to be riding at the top like they are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if Shanahan takes over Virginia Tech, for example, right? Like, that is a program that has been down for a decade at this point. They've just not been very good through several coaching tenures, and so you're gonna have to rebuild that thing from the ground up. And like, he's talented enough to do it, I think, but it's a question of, do you want to lose for 2 or 3 years, right? Because that's the thing, is that people, and the problem is that people who hire a Cignetti guy, like if a team hires a Cignetti coordinator as their head coach, they're going to expect a Cignetti turnaround. They're going to expect it right away. And so it's going to be hard to sell, hey, we're going to have to build this thing from the ground up. We're not going to be able to do what we did in Indiana. And people are not probably going to want to hear that. And so we'll see how that goes for them, because it's going to be a little bit difficult because Indiana was so good so fast. The pressure on them to be good right away wherever they go is going to be pretty high. And so I think that's going to be a little bit of a difficult situation through no fault of their own. They were too good for their own good. right? They were too good, too fast for their own good. And so how do you handle that and setting expectations at your next job? Because that's one of the most important things a coach can do is set expectations, right? You don't want to say, hey, we're going to go 12-0 if you know in your heart that you're going 4-8 and in year one, and that's fine, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I do think that for IU, the question is going to be this offseason, right? Because so much of obviously they did a great job in the portal this past offseason. They brought in Fernando Mendoza, they brought in Roman Hemby, they brought in the offensive lineman and Kellen Wyatt, who's now hurt, and Stephen Daly on defense and some of these other guys, but Lewis Moore. But so much of this team is still the backbone of those James Madison guys that Sig brought with him from JMU, like Aiden Fisher's still here, Elijah Surratt's still here, Kalon Black is still here, D'Angelo Pons and Amar is still here. And so what happens when those guys wash out of the program, I think, is the biggest question, right? Because so much of what Sig was able to do was because he had guys that he could bring with him from James Madison. That's why Barry Odom was never going to be able to do what Sig could, because there just weren't as many guys that he could bring with him from UNLV that had eligibility left. As good as that UNLV team was.
He didn't have the start that Signetti had, which
Right.
I understand that you're clearing it out, but it was a house that needed to be cleaned out.
Right.
This is a different project. There's some homes you buy, you just move in, you repaint it, maybe you put some new carpet in, but it's easy stuff. Then there are homes you buy and you just gut it. You tear all the drywall out, you're ripping all the wiring out, you're taking it down to the foundation. And that's what you had with Indiana, down to the shell. But that also can be advantageous because you're building it how you want it from the very, very basics of the beginning. Dylan, I don't know if you got a few more minutes to stick around. We got to take one more break.
Sure.
And we'll be back with more Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette on this Wednesday. Appreciate you being with us as you travel throughout the day. Back with more right after these messages.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along as you travel throughout the day, driving around. Just keep this number punched in on your radio dial, no matter where you're traveling. But Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette with me as well. Something that I noticed, like a lot of other buzzards, Indiana is circling the bodies of the Penn State recruits that over there, and because it is like a pack of hyenas going after some jackals just going after stuff, buzzards circling, the roadkill as they are poaching everybody poaching players left and right. But Indiana on the list of several of these guys, several of them visiting Indiana coming up. And that shows you how the tide has shifted. And it's going to be funny how we're going to go from the shock and awe of Indiana doing what they're doing right now to the, oh, well, we expect Indiana to do this right now. And then when one of these days we'll get to the, why isn't Indiana doing what Indiana's supposed to be doing? It's just a cycle. But we're in the good part of the cycle right now. That's for sure. But Indiana recruiting has been okay still, but it still hasn't really, boom, had that big punch, Dylan. And this could be the deal that does it. I mean, the win at Oregon, the fact that Penn State just took this big loss. There's going to be a lot of guys that Indiana is going to benefit from this. There's no doubt in my mind. And they still have yet to get that first 5-star guy. So I think that they may end up with a couple of those in the next class. But when you go undefeated, when you reach the Big Ten championship game, if that happens, and whatever, you're there, and there's no way that you're not going to get the recruits, a lot of the guys that you're going after.
Yeah, because that's the one thing that we haven't yet seen from Indiana under Cignetti. It's the one outstanding question, right? It's the one thing that Cignetti still has to answer, because what we know about college football over the last at least quarter century is that teams don't win national championships or really contend for national championships unless you have a preponderance of 4- and 5-star guys on your roster from high school recruiting, right? And that hasn't entirely changed. The transfer portal has evened things out to some extent. It is absolutely true. But we have not yet seen a team filled with 3-stars win a national championship. In fact, Ohio State last year was one of the most talented teams by star ratings in college football history, right? And so if Indiana really wants to contend at the top of the sport year in and year out, the only way to get there, as far as we know, in college football, and maybe this has changed, we don't know it yet, Indiana's going to be the first one. But as far as we know so far, the only way to contend at the top of college football on a consistent basis, rather than just having 1 or 2 up seasons then coming back down to earth, is to recruit 4- and 5-star guys out of high school, right? And you're right, Indiana has not exactly done that yet. There's a couple 4-star guys that they have in this class, but they haven't put together that big, hey, we have a top 10 recruiting class here. And so that's going to be the challenge for 2027 is, all right, you've done this for 2 years now. You've been really successful. You have all the money that you need to go out and get these guys. Go out and win some of those recruiting battles against the big boys, right? Because otherwise, I know people want to say, hey, they could just build through the transfer portal every offseason. And they did a great job these last 2 off seasons of building through the transfer portal. But if you don't have that foundation of high school recruiting, you risk becoming what happened to Florida State, right? Florida State went 10-3, and they went 13-0. And then they tried to, and they weren't really recruiting at a high level for high schoolers. And they tried to go out and portal a whole bunch of guys again. They got a whole bunch of guys out of the transfer portal that were really talented on paper. And then they went 2-10. And they tried to do it again, and they're 3-4. That can happen. And Cignetti and his staff are incredibly good at player, at noticing talent, at finding talent. They're really, really good at it. But no one in the history of college football has ever done that year after year after year. It just doesn't happen. And so maybe Indiana's the first one. Maybe we're learning that can be done with the right coaching staff in the transfer portal era. I don't know. We'll see. But so far, the way to win championships in college football and do it consistently is to recruit high schools at a high level. Indiana has not done that. They've recruited a good level. And Cignetti has leveled up the high school recruiting to some extent. But it needs to go to another level higher than that if, by what we know of college football wisdom, if it's going to be a year in and year out thing.
No doubt about that, man. Big thanks to Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal Gazette. make sure you're giving him a follow and keeping up with all that he has, because he covers everything and he'll keep you informed on a lot more. Appreciate you, my friend.
Absolutely, Jim. Thanks for having me on, as always.
It's our pleasure, as always, man. Dylan Sinn joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Pat Forde is going to join us next. He is a nationally renowned writer, been around. He's been to ESPN and all kinds of places, now with Sports Illustrated, but he is he's on the upper list of national known writers out there today. That respectability. He's Rick Bozich, without Rick kind of settled in Louisville as his home base where he worked out of, which Pat does as well, but Pat is more still on the national side, and he is just been a force. You could just tell from a long time ago. I think I told yesterday the story that I remember meeting him when he was covering a high school basketball, and he came in and did a story. But we'll take a break. Pat will join us hopefully on the other side. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouth-watering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Hope your week is going well. You've reached the midway point, man. If not, just as soon as you slide over the top of this ledge, it's all downhill from here. Hoping that Pat Forde joins us in a little while. Let's see, got to get that pulled up. But, man, it has just been a great sports season for Indiana, the state of Indiana. Even if you're not an Indiana Hoosier fan, the Colts are just doing some fantastic things. It's amazing to see and amazing to watch as they continue to win. And there's nothing to say that they're going to slow down. They're going to be a player at the end of the deal. And it's the same with Indiana. Can you imagine a year in which both the Colts and the Hoosiers are doing well, and Notre Dame might still get into the playoffs? So think about that triple header. Notre Dame, Indiana, and the Colts. There's not a better three-headed monster in all of football in any other state that I can imagine. The Falcons are not going to do what the Colts are going to do. So that eliminates Georgia and Georgia Tech, which I believe would be the only other state that would have two representatives into the CFP, which is amazing. Indiana, one of these smaller states. But to get that job done, it's amazing. Well, it's amazing because Indiana is one of those teams. They're one of these teams that they're in the elite class right now. Now, I just the other day for the first time saw the term blue blood used for football. We normally use that for basketball. But if we're using it for football, there's a hell of a lot more blue bloods in football than basketball, but we kind of know who they are. You know, Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, etc. But that's changing. That is completely changing in every sport, but especially in football. We have seen the greatest equalization because of the changes that have been made in this sport, and I think it's great because you're seeing teams that have never done it before, fan bases that have never gotten to experience anything close to what they're getting to experience right now. And they're loving it. It's like they're going to McDonald's. They're loving it. Look at the response by Indiana fans alone. Look how, you know, it's going to lead to some kind of expansion of Memorial Stadium without question. But you have to have a reason to do it. Indiana needed to have replaced that press box a long time ago. They needed to have been ahead of excuse me, doing some producing work right in the middle of the show. They needed to have been ahead of where they are right now. They needed to have been prepared for this moment, and they just weren't. And that's okay as long as you get there. And I think that they will. There's no doubt that they're in on football. We have seen that. Not just from the athletic department either. The school. President Witten is in on this. Is in on knowing that this is the economics of athletics now. This is how you have to run the program. This is the engine of the train. And Indiana has been fortunate because not only have they been able to make the change over, they've done it in a fashion that is unbelievable. And there are so many people that would love to see them or love to see their programs do that. That wanted to. What do you think North Carolina was thinking? Hoping when they made that ridiculous hire which I always thought that was a ridiculous hire. There's no way, even though college sports is much more like akin to professional sports now, I'll give you that. It can be run that way. It probably should be run that way. But when you have people who think they know what they're doing, but don't, because they're too arrogant to ask, to look, that's what you have with Bill Belichick and that dude that he has being his GM or whatever. I forget his name. It's not worth remembering. But that's why they don't know what they're doing. And unlike me, they're like a man driving around who won't stop and ask for directions. Damn it, I'll stop. I can't stand being lost. I don't get lost very often. I've got a pretty good sense of direction. But if I think for a single second I'm hunting a place to get rerouted but that's not Bill Belichick. But North Carolina had people, I'll say it. Look who's at the helm of North Carolina. North Carolina is shown to be not care about stepping on any moral lines a long time ago with those bogus classes. Well, then last year, the athletics director was on the college football committee. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. Pat Forde from SI will join us next. Glad to have you along on this Wednesday. Back with more from ISB Studios right after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, FreeThink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along out there on the ride. Make sure you keep it locked where you got it. Jim Coyle with you as always, and joined by Pat Forde from Sports Illustrated, nationally renowned writer. One of the few, man, you're one of the few Mount Rushmores that's left out there. When I think of just a good old-fashioned sports writers. I told the story before you joined about how, I mean, you wouldn't remember because I was just for some reason sitting in the bleachers there at Floyd Central High School where I went. But when you were coming over to see Joe Hinton, and I remember when he was walking up to you and he says, "Are you Forde?" And I'm like, and I didn't know how to pronounce your name at that time, whether it was Forde or Ford. And I instantly said, "Oh, it must be Ford." If Joe Hinton said 40, it's got to be the opposite, but he was actually right. But yeah, man, you started out covering high school sports, and I mean that's been a long time ago, but you are on the mountaintop now, brother.
Well, thanks. I'm glad you think so. It's been a fun ride. I've certainly enjoyed the job and still going. There's a lot of fun stuff happening, a lot of crazy, weird things happening in college sports, but I'm still certainly enjoying it.
Yeah, we have certainly seen the college athletics just go through a metamorphosis of that we could not even imagine. A lot of it's good though, because it has just been the greatest equalizer that I don't think that no one could have planned that this would be the result. And it is actually a great result. If there's some things that probably just need to be tweaked, but you don't want to screw with success too much because this is really working for some people, I guess, not for everybody. But
Sure.
It's been wild to watch this. Now, one of the detriments, though, has been this coaching carousel, which it's blowing my mind how many teams are just pulling the trigger so fast in the middle of the season when you have the rest of the season to have to go. And there's a lot of jobs out there already.
Yeah, there sure are. But going back to your original point, there's a lot of good to it. If you're an Indiana fan, you got to say this is fantastic. It has helped Indiana football immeasurably. You made a great hire in Curt Cignetti. But he was able to bring in players immediately that are immediately eligible, and they were all really good. And then, you need a different quarterback this year. You go get him, and you get better at that position. So, there may be Indiana fans out there saying, "Oh, college sports has been ruined," but boy, oh boy, you're getting the benefits of the current status of things. As far as the carousel, yeah, it's wild. We were trending this way a few years ago, and then it kind of slowed down last year and maybe the year before that, when I think people saw the revenue sharing coming and they were like, we need to save money. Well, college sports just doesn't – people don't save money in college sports. They may talk like we need to cut back here. We need some restraint. When it comes down to it, they don't. They will make moves. They will fire people. They'll eat huge buyouts, and we've seen it all over the country so far this season. And yeah, there's more to come, I think, by the end of this year. So this is going to be one of the busiest, I think, coaching carousels we've ever seen, certainly the most expensive we've ever seen. But again, if you're Indiana, you're sitting in a good spot. It looks like you got your guy locked up.
Yeah, and contrary to Paul Feinbaum's thoughts, it was a very smart move because I think the biggest reason is the impact it would have had on this very season, because I don't think that there's any way that with this many games left that talk got louder or whatever the case from a recruiting standpoint, because now Indiana is going to benefit from a recruiting standpoint now from the fallout of these other teams. There's several Penn State guys who are coming to visit Indiana, but it would have greatly impacted their efforts to get to a potential 12-0 historic freaking run to the Big Ten title game. I'm like, blows my mind to say that, but yeah. It is the truth. But it probably would have been derailed possibly had they not been able to lock him down and get him off of that chatter train.
No doubt that it was very beneficial, I think, for this team this season, for them to act quickly and decisively, and for Cignetti to be open to it quickly and decisively. And I do think once you open the door and start listening to other offers, your focus waivers and it changes. And then if you get further down the line with another school, even if it's just through an agent, even if it's back channel, you start thinking, okay, staff, who do I want on my staff and what players and where are we going to go? And you're thinking about all these other things other than this team this year right now. And Jim, you can go back and look at schools where coaches were either leaving or being heavily courted to leave at the end of the season, and they will drop games you can't imagine. Like, I mean, just shocking losses that you have. And what you have to think, okay, somebody's not minding the store. You're not paying attention to the team that you have right now because you're thinking about the next job. And so I think for Indiana to take care of this and Cignetti, and I think, look, he's 64 years old. He's been around the block. He's appreciative that he got the chance at age 62 from Indiana. And I think he's appreciative at age 64. We have the chance to have an incredible season here. We already have, but let's go for it. Let's try to go undefeated. Let's try to win a Big Ten championship. Let's try to win a national championship. And so I think his focus is all in on the team, and Indiana has reciprocated that.
Yeah, and it's also it's an investment that Indiana's making because it's not like they're not getting anything back, and that's going to continue to grow amongst the Big Ten schools and being a power in the sport that drives college athletics. So it's just after so long, Pat Forde from Sports Illustrated with us. After so long of watching Indiana make boneheaded move after boneheaded decision, which is why the basketball program was where it was for so long. It's just as amazing to see these home runs being hit by Scott Dolson, and that's exactly what he's doing. Because if you look at the coaching situation at Indiana right now, not just basketball and football, women's basketball, Terry Morin is doing a tremendous job. The baseball team had the 7 most players drafted in the Major League Baseball this year. That's nuts for a team that is where Indiana is in baseball with Jeff Mercer. Soccer, they're still a national. They were number 1 this year. The swimming, you're a big swimming guy, with your kids being swimmers. Swimming still. So as a coaching standpoint, they're in a unique place because Indiana is one of the smaller Big Ten schools in the conference, and you've got to maintain your place at the table now more than ever. You used to be able to skirt by, but you look at the SEC, Vanderbilt, baby, they're a top 10 football school now. They're not just they're not just for the GPA in the SEC. So, but the change has just been unbelievable. But I've got to tell you, Pat, I have loved every second of watching this change in college football and this new blood coming in.
Yeah, that's the thing that, for decades, it was pretty much the same customers, the usual suspects. And people complained about that. Oh, I'm tired of seeing Alabama. I'm tired of seeing Ohio State. Everything. Well, now you're seeing a lot more than that. We saw TCU play for the national championship 3 years ago. We saw SMU make the playoff and Indiana make the playoff last year. Indiana's ranked number 2. Vanderbilt's in the top 10. I covered an Illinois-Indiana game. I never thought I would do that from a national perspective. I'm covering Missouri-Vanderbilt Saturday. I never thought I would cover that from a national perspective. So I think it's fantastic because there's just so much more opportunity for people that are in all these Power 4 conferences to move up and to have that special season and to get excited. And that's the playoff helps because you got 12 bids now. It used to be 4, and before that it was 2. And so the access just wasn't there. But then also, the other modern elements of it and, NIL and the portal, which I am not a huge fan of the immediate eligibility, but that's what it is. That's the rule. That's the law. Heck, I mean, the courts have basically told the NCAA that's the way it's going to be. And so while I don't love it, it's been a fresh opportunity for so many different schools to have that shot. And you get the right guy like a Cignetti, and all of a sudden you get the right players, and boom, you can go from 0 to 100 really fast.
Yeah, it's amazing to see. And speaking of, I know your alma mater. You went to Missouri, right?
Yes.
How I can remember that, I don't know why. I swear I don't know why I remember that, but because that's from back in those early days.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is, for people, Pat is a national writer, and he doesn't. You would never know he went to Missouri because, well, partly, how often have you been able to cover them from a national perspective?
Not very often. I'm trying to think. I think I've covered, well, shoot, go back to 2007 when I was at ESPN. I covered a football game then, maybe two of them, because they were really good then, and then maybe one or two thereafter. But that's about it. Missouri has had some blips on the radar from a football perspective and basketball, but there just hasn't been anything sustained. So it's not. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to go back to my alma mater and see the campus more often, but they got to earn it. They haven't been good enough. So, they're playing in Nashville against Vandy, and frankly, Vandy's the better story. Vandy's the more interesting story, but I'll take whoever wins.
That sucks that they're in Nashville, except for it's in Nashville, so that's never a bad thing.
Right.
I suggest you go to Kane Prime if you have not been there. I highly recommend it.
Good to know.
Kane Prime, and get one of the Wagyu steaks, and you will thank yourself and me the rest of the night. But anyway, Vanderbilt is a great story, but I think Missouri, I've said this already, might be the most undervalued team in college football. I love Missouri. I love how they play. I love they're a gritty fist fight kind of a get down and roll with your team. And the SEC, man, there's such a difference between the Big Ten and the SEC. The Big Ten has got the elite teams. I think that they have the two and still potentially three best teams in college football. But then there's a big chasm. There's a big gap between, well, I don't want to say a big gap, but with Illinois and USC and those kinds of teams. But that's where the SEC is out ahead of the Big Ten. They probably have 6-7 teams that I would slot in that position right there that are not as good as the top, but could probably beat one on a given day, and just makes it that more difficult. And the SEC is going to eat each other up a little. We've said that, as a lot over the years, but that is going to be the case a little bit this year because you're going to have teams like Missouri and Vanderbilt who are both good. I wondered about Vanderbilt until they beat LSU, and I'm like, okay, they're for real. And that's what makes it difficult. And I think people don't understand for writers like yourself, that's how you look at it. There are no allegiances whatsoever in your head, and it is just from a chair, and you're just spinning and looking at everything at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's where, we are trying to know a little about a lot. People that are on the ground covering these teams locally know a lot about a little. They know about their teams. I've got to try to know about 136 teams and really, 70 more than that. And so, but what you want is you want news stories, and certainly Indiana the last 2 years and Vanderbilt have supplied those. And from my standpoint, all the better because I can drive to both of them. But the fresher, the better, because I mean, when you're going to Alabama for the 23rd time in a 5-year span, and you're trying to think of something different to write about, especially during the Saban era, when first of all, there weren't many people available, but there was a sameness to the excellence, which if you're a fan is awesome. You can count on your team to be great no matter what. But from a writing standpoint, it just got to be same old, same old. So this is a wonderful era of kind of watching these programs rise and fall, and new personalities. Diego Pavia, the quarterback at Vanderbilt, is fascinating to me. Mendoza is very interesting at Indiana. And you just, these guys that didn't get recruited. I mean, Fernando Mendoza was committed to Yale at one point, it fascinates me the amount of effort and money and brain power that's put into recruiting projections. And this goes for basketball too, that ends up being wildly wrong. And, you're dealing with 17, 18-year-old kids who then are going to eventually be 22-year-old men, and you're trying to make projections there. But still, it just, you can get a lot of them right, but boy, they still get a lot of them wrong.
Yeah, often it will happen. And that's just like the AP polls for basketball, for football, especially for football. Man, it has been wild to see the teams that were thought to be good or supposed to be good, but a lot of that there is brand bias.
Oh yeah,
people start to expect. You expect Texas to be good. Well, they've got Arch Manning, they've got this and that. They have to be good. No, well, they're not. Probably shouldn't even be in the top 25, to be honest with you. They struggled to beat Kentucky at Kentucky, but anyway, it's been a churn in that, and it's just incredible and actually fun to see. I'm sure it makes it more difficult to cover, but at the same time, maybe not, because it does provide fresh new stories.
Sure. Yeah. And we thrive on unpredictability. There's nothing better in my job than like on a Saturday to have upsets happening left, right, and all over. That's fun. That's interesting. That draws people's attention. It gives us something to write about. So when those things happen, I think it's fantastic. But to your point about brand bias, it is undeniable. It's especially true in football. It's true in basketball too, but it's definitely true in football. Going into this season, I walked up to Scott Dolson at Big Ten Media Day in July in Las Vegas, and I said, "We're picking your team top 10." I said, "I don't know why other people aren't." And the answer is obviously because, well, everybody thought, well, it's Indiana, so it was a one-year wonder, it was a fluke. But if you looked at what was coming back, and then I'd seen Mendoza, I thought Mendoza was a clear improvement over Curtis Rourke, who was good. No knock on Curtis Rourke, but I thought Mendoza was very good at Cal. And so I thought the building blocks were there for them to have a great season. And they have. Like a lot of other top 10 picks, not so good. But I felt good about Indiana then and better now.
Yeah, I as someone who is closer to the deal, I kept telling people, I said, hey, I'm telling you, this is going to be a better team than they were last year. I said, they are better at every position. My only question, ironically, was the defensive line. And I think that they've more than answered that question with 13 sacks in their 2 top 10 games, which still blows my mind. Both of those top 10 games, they totaled 13 sacks. And I'm like, wow. They're potentially better than they are better than last year's offensive line, which currently has guys playing in the NFL. So that blows my mind, but that defense is incredible. They are elite, but they're just better. And Fernando Mendoza, I remember watching him at Indiana's Pro Day last spring, and they had him in there throwing. And he's dropping dimes, 50-yard dimes, that I'm like, oh boy, they did not have that last year. And that's what we still haven't seen that yet, but he has that capability. He has that NFL capability of throwing those 50-yard spot-on passes that just hit a receiver in the hands as he's running full speed. And but you're right, it is an improvement all the way around, and it's fun to watch. But if you've noticed, Pat Forde from SI with us, Sports Illustrated, Kurt Cignetti has been muted. He's not been giving people the Cignettiisms because he also knows that's bulletin board material, and now he's on the other side of things. He's got a target on his back, so he's not wanting to add a fresh coat of paint every day to that thing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I jokingly have said I'm disappointed in him this year because he's toned it down
Yeah.
to the level that he has. But I get it. I mean, totally. And look, he did coach under Saban, so there is an element of wariness of when things are going well. That's when I need to be really concerned. The more we win, the more I'm on guard, the more I'm hammering the guys. You're not good enough. We're not doing these things well enough. We've got to get better at this, and this. The rat poison thing that Saban always threw out, praise is rat poison. So I think he's living that and he's embodying that, and I don't blame him. My hope is that we will get to a point if they're standing there 13-0 in Lucas Oil Stadium, or even if they're not 13-0, but they've won the Big Ten championship. I hope we can get some crowing out of his mouth at that point. But he may still be holding on to it for a playoff run. But and he said several times, I felt like I had to wake the fan base up, with some of the stuff that he said, and boy did it work.
He was right.
Oh yeah,
he was
right. I mean, I thought he had a pretty darn good read on things very quickly, again, having been around this area for a long, long time and covered a lot of Indiana football games over, 17 years at the Courier-Journal, I thought it was an incredibly apathetic fan base, and I remember going up there and the talk was the students come to the tailgates, but we can't get them in the stadium. They would go tailgate and then they would go somewhere else to watch the game or watch other games. They'd go watch Ohio State or Michigan or Alabama or somebody else on TV. And there was just no energy, no buzz, and a beaten down sense of, well, we're Indiana, we just can't be that good. And I think he really challenged that in a very noteworthy and effective way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were first of all, let me tell you, you are spot on with that viewpoint. It was, I compare it to Kentucky. I remember when I was working down in that area at WOKY, and even then in my young, dumb mind, I could see a Kentucky team that they were terrible, but didn't matter. People would go out. It was an event.
Yeah.
They would go out to at least. And so they had support. On the other hand, it may have been feigned support, but it didn't matter. They were out there. Not so Indiana. Nope. Not in the stands. And so Signetti, I agree with you. He was dead on in his assertion of what was going on. And he has done it. And it is a marked difference. I mean, I sit in those press conferences all the time, and I'm like, this is a different dude, man. Because normally I'll hear a question, and you're like, what's coming? And now I'm like, oh wow, he let him off easy. It's like, oh, man. But it's a lot more fun covering a winner, though. I say that too.
Sure.
So I'll take that every time.
Yeah,
I
just wanted to say real quick. I think your comparison of Kentucky and Indiana is accurate. That there was always, Kentucky was pretty much the same as Indiana in terms of where it stood in the hierarchy of the sport and within its conference. But the Kentucky fans were a little more bought in and a little more, there was an element of fatalism to it. But they put dang near 70,000 fans in the stadium a lot. And, they would show up. Eventually, about the time of Midnight Madness, you would see them start to turn. But up till then, I mean, they had good crowds with very little to show for it. So, Indiana, I think, has come further in terms of actually really getting excited about football.
Oh, are they, man? There's still talk of basketball around here, people wanting to, but it's not. It's full board on football because we're going into territory that I don't think people could have even dreamed of, even after last season, when Indiana's legitimately most likely going to be playing in the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis, which I'm sure Indianapolis loves that in some way, but I'm sure all the hotel people don't love it.
Right.
as much. But that is something that I never even perceived as being a possibility. But
Yeah.
this is a real possibility. And we could see the clash of two 12-0 teams. This could be the perfect storm on these two teams colliding at a time when both are undefeated, because they both should be undefeated when that happens. And that's going to be a great matchup.
Yeah, if that happens, I tell you what, it'll be an extremely hot ticket. It won't be a hot hotel room, but it'll be a very hot ticket to get into Lucas Oil with Ohio State's massive fan base, and then Indiana at this, completely unprecedented point and having it in your backyard. Wow. I mean, that would really be something. And Indy it's such a great big event town. I mean, that I could just see the downtown being absolutely on fire that day if they get there. And the winner of that game, if they're both 12-0, the winner of that game is absolutely going to be the number 1 seed for the playoff. And so, a lot of other things could accrue along the way that would be, previously unimaginable for Indiana.
Yeah, absolutely. Beyond question. And now I think a lot of people are wanting and expecting that same thing in basketball, because as good as Indiana is under Kurt Signetti, it will still take, I don't know how long it would take and how long it would, if it still would even be possible to turn that feeling for basketball that the fans have to that for football. Because I can tell you right now, as far as moving the needle, it's still basketball, boom, by a mile when it comes to just stuff happening. And they are just waiting for that. If something like Signetti happened, oh my God, it would be a tsunami with the fans. But I do think that Darren DeVries is going to do great things. And seeing them place up multiple times this year already. And that's another thing that is crazy. Pat, we've had 2 open practices this fall. Yeah, we were down at Huber's, and I asked Darren, I said, hey, Darren, I said, I know you've got a lot of things going on. I said, but it would be really awesome if you had an open practice for the media to just let us watch some things once. And he said, yeah, we'll work on that. Well, I thought that was like in one ear, out the other. And then bam, next thing I know, it happened. And I thanked him. He'd say, hey, I told you I'd take care of you. Well, then they did it again. Then they had this thing on Kirkwood Avenue. Then they had another exhibition or open scrimmage. And then the scrimmage. But it's been such an open atmosphere with Darren DeVries. But when I've seen them play, I think the biggest thing is fans are going to enjoy watching this team. They may not have the level of talent that they are going to want and need to have, but I don't know where they're going to compete, because we don't know where anybody, just like in football, you have to wait and find out. But I think that they're going to be a 8th, 7, 8, 9 kind of a team, because I know there's a lot of talent in the Big Ten this year, but they are going to play their ass off on defense, and they are going to shoot the lights out with the 3 ball. Those are 2 things that I know are going to happen, but I don't see a Signetti type of result for Indiana, but I do see a result to where the fans are going to at least leave games, win or lose, thinking, well, that team played hard, or they did what they needed to do to try to win.
Yeah. I'll give you a quick comment there, and then I'm going to have to roll. My phone's ringing with some interesting news, it looks like. But I like the hire. I like DeVries a lot. Covered him some when he was at Drake, and he puts a really good team on the floor every night. Effort is there. I think they run good offense. As you said, I think they'll have shooters, and I think they will be competitive in the Big Ten. Yeah, probably top half, but where in the top half? Maybe near the bottom of the top half. But, if you're competitive, if you're in the top half of that league, you're going to the NCAA tournament most likely. And so I look for I think some of the that Indiana signature pride maybe to come back. And, that's not that Mike Woodson didn't care deeply about Indiana basketball, but I think that this is just going to be a renewed level of energy around the program.
I agree with you. Pat Forde with Sports Illustrated currently. And what's the best place for people to find you, Pat?
SI.com, on Twitter, by Pat Forde, wherever else on the social media, and my stuff's out there.
My 40-yard dash is my favorite. Always has been.
Thank you.
Love it. And for breaking stories, obviously, there's probably one out there that's about to break that Pat's going to have the information on here in a minute. What's it about so we can look for it?
College football.
All right. Appreciate you, sir. Have a great day. Pat Forde.
Okay.
On
right.
SI. Thank you, brother. Hey, we've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We'll take a quick message and we'll see what's happening in the world of college football on the other side after this break.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along. Hope everyone is enjoying their day as we're heading into week 8 of the college football season, I believe, or was it week 9? I can't remember. Entering week 9, I guess, is officially. But who's the Heisman race? Ty Simpson, Alabama. He's definitely probably is gotten people's attention for the number 1 slot for some reason. I'm not sure why. I don't know. To me, that you just cannot even have a number 1 right now unless there was a runaway, an easy runaway, just like in college football. Yeah, people are voting Ohio State number 1, but are they? Who have they really played? Texas? No. Texas, they're not even a top 20 team, in my opinion. Texas barely beat Kentucky. So we don't know that. Now, we do know Indiana's good. They've been tested. They played the team that everybody thought was the number 9 team in the country and beat the crap out of them. Then they go to Oregon, where no one has been able to win in a couple of years, since 2022, and beat what many thought was the best team in the country. And they beat them. Legit beat them. Indiana is the number 1 team in the country. They have achieved more than anybody. They have wins that no one else has. And not just wins, it's how they got them. 63-10 over Illinois. 63-10. Number 9. Most points ever scored on a top 10 opponent in the Big Ten. Ever in the history of the Big Ten Conference. Largest margin of victory, all that stuff. The history of the Big Ten Conference against the top 10 team. And then what they achieved at Oregon, I'm impressed with the defense. I mean, they were really good last year, but I'm telling you, I'm just uber impressed with what they're getting done, especially that line. Now they had a blow with the loss of Kellen Wyatt, no doubt. His numbers were a solid part of what they've been getting done with sacks and tackles for loss. Indiana gets after it. That line gets after it. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate you. Doug had a board made for me that I have not been able to get to yet, and I appreciate it nonetheless, though. I can't wait to display it once I get it. But I forget what I was saying exactly. But, oh, yeah, the quarterback race. So Ty Simpson is probably in a lot of people's mind. Number one, I'm not sure why, other than, again, Alabama, because he's for Alabama and Alabama's playing well again. But he's not. He's tied for 6th in passing touchdowns. He's 10th in yards and 10th in efficiency. And this is according to CBS. But when you incorporate opponent quality into the picture, no one has been better. He's been efficient, steady, clutch, and light on catastrophic blunders during 4 straight wins over top 20 opponents with legitimate CFP aspirations. Yeah, I don't know about that. 4 straight wins over. Who in the hell have they played that's in the top 20? I'm going to have to go back and look at that. Fernando Mendoza, they've got number 2. He threw for 4 touchdowns and a season high 332 yards in Indiana's win over Michigan State. You know, that's the first time he's thrown for over 300 yards as a Hoosier. It's amazing that it took this long. He leads the nation in passing efficiency and is tied for first in touchdown passes with 21 and is running a close second in the Heisman Trophy odds at FanDuel. Why is he running a close second? How is he not? This is the ultimate proof of brand bias. He has outdone Ty Simpson in every measurable way. Starting with wins. Fernando Mendoza did not lose to what is an unranked Florida State team. Fernando Mendoza is not 10th in yards. I don't know where he is. I guess I should look that up, but he's number 1 in passing efficiency. He's number 1 in touchdowns. And his team, although ranked number 2, probably should be number 1 if you want it to be by the honest truth. Fernando Mendoza is the number 1 projected pick in the NFL draft right now. Not that that has anything to do with winning the Heisman, but it's also not supposed to be the best team's best player. It's supposed to be the best player, period. And that's not even always the case, because a quarterback or a running back or a wide receiver, especially player, are the most likely people to always win this award. It's not going to be a defensive guy. So it's not truly the best player necessarily, but it has really morphed into the best player on the best team. Hey, I've got to take another quick break. Glad to have you guys along. Appreciate you being with us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with more right after this break.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Glad to have you. Big thanks to everybody today, especially Pat Forde from Sports Illustrated for joining us. Back tomorrow with another full house. Cannot wait to do it. Griff will be with me, Dustin Schutte, Matt Taylor. We'll see what else we can scare up. Appreciate you guys as always. Hope you enjoy your day. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.